At the top of this tower is a Diamond X30A dual band vertical for VHF and UHF, and it's fed with about 100 feet of LMR 400 that comes down into this box here underground, and into the box here. Here's the three cables coming in from the tower. I have another one coming out. Also have some lines for antenna rotators. This one contains some twisted pair. I think there's 5 twisted pair plus a RG59 75 ohm coax in that one. The purpose of this video, since this is a new antenna installation, what I want to do is take some baseline measurements that I can use to compare in the future to make sure I'm not developing any problems here. So I'm going to go down in the radio room and take some measurements from that end, and that will give me that baseline that I can use to make sure that my antennas are operating properly. So I'll go down in the radio room, so stand by for that next. I'm in the radio room now, so I'm going to take my measurements in here. What I'm going to measure today is that dual band vertical that's up on top of the tower. And the end of the feed line is coming into an antenna switch system here, and I'm going to disconnect that because I don't want the antenna switches to affect my measurement. So I'm going to disconnect that. Here's the end of the cable that goes up to the top of the tower. It's LMR 400. I'm going to take the end of the connector here and connect it to a nano VNA through an adapter, which will affect my reading a little bit. Here's a nano VNA H4. I've already calibrated it. I'm not going to go through that. That's everywhere in the internet. But anyway, I've got the nano VNA connected. And over here on the right is a laptop running Nano VNA Saver version 0.6.4. And right now, if you can read this, I'm going to sweep from 100 megahertz to 500 megahertz. So I'll sweep now. And here's my first sweep. Now what I'm interested in right now, I've got a Smith chart and SWR here and return loss. I'm going to bring up the SWR here in a pop-out chart. Now here you can see the scan. I'm scanning from, on the left, 100 megahertz through the 2 meter 440 up to 500 megahertz. You can see the red marker. At 144, the SWR 1.01 here. And you can see how it varies as I go across the spectrum. Here's 148. It's 1.1 to 1. So it's looking pretty good at the 2 meter frequencies here. Now I'm going to go up to the UHF section here. Here's 440. Marker 1 here, the red one, is at 440 megahertz. It shows a VSWR of 1.04 at 440. At 444 it's gone up to 1.14, and at 148 1.15. So this gives me a baseline of what this antenna is looking like today when it's fairly recently been put up here. So now what I want to do, I'm going to save this scan here. And the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to use the snipping tool to snip this scan. And then I'm going to save it. I'll put it in my download so I can find it fairly easy. Okay, now I have this scan in my downloads folder. Okay, here's the sweep at from 144 to 148. Look at the middle of the band here, about 146 in that area. Here is 146.2, 0.1, 0.08, getting close. Okay, here's 146. We got a VSWR of 1.05. What I think I'll do is I'm going to do a scan at, for just the ham bands here, each separate band, I'll do a scan for VHF and for UHF. So let me save that one. So here's a scan of 144 to 148. So I'll save that one. Now I'm going to scan from 420 megahertz to 450. So now I'm going to sweep. Here it says pop out chart. It brings the chart out, and then I can expand it out. It's a lot easier to read if I do that. So let's look. Well, I'm more interested in this area from 440 to 448. Here it goes up at 438. It's 1.2. It drops down. Looks like the best SWR is at 435. There again, I'm using the snipping tool. I really like that. Allows you to take a screenshot of just one area, not the whole screen, just whatever you're looking at. You can put it in the bounds there. So I'm going to save that. .420 to 450, and I'll save that. Here you can look at the Smith chart. Okay, now I am going to take the data that I just recorded here, and I'm going to go on another computer where I save it, and I'll show you what the next step is. So I will do that next. So stand by. Here on another computer are those 3 files, those 3 images I saved. So what I want to do, I've opened up OpenOffice here. What I'm going to do is take the first one, which is, let's take the one that goes for both bands, this one here. So I'm going to copy, and I'm going to paste that here. So I've got that one. I'm going to take the 144 to 148, I'm going to take the 420 to 450. And I'm going to take that one. So now on one page I have 100 megahertz to 500 megahertz, 144 to 148, and 420 to 450. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to save this as a PDF. And here's the PDF that I have. And I don't want an assistant. Why does that stuff always come up? That's why I don't like Windows. Anyway, here's a PDF. I can print this out with the date and I'll save this. And then in a year or so, I can take these measurements again and I'll compare these three files to the new ones and I can see if there's been any changes. That way I have this baseline and then any future measurements. Now that way I can keep track if there's any problems with the antenna system. And I'll do this regularly here. This is a new install, so things are looking pretty good, but if things start to go bad I can always refer back to the input here. So anyway, that was just a quick description of how you can save a baseline of the performance of your antenna system that you can use for future reference. So that's it for this one. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.